Hello everybody, welcome to Hospitality MD. I'm Kyle, and we're about to go interview the general manager of the Londonhouse, Chicago. Come on. All right, welcome back to Hospitality MD. I'm here with Juan Leyva, the general manager of the Londonhouse, Chicago. Thanks so much for taking some time to be with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So I just kind of want to get down to some nitty-gritty questions with you here and just ask you, what is the difference, in your opinion, between hospitality and customer service?
Hospitality and customer service. So when I think customer service, I think process-based, where it's like you answer a question, you deliver a product, and it's over. Where hospitality, the essence of it is the people and the interactions and how you make someone feel. I think in customer service, you don't necessarily take that away, like how you feel about a product. In hospitality, it's all about how you make people feel. They either feel great, they feel bad about your service, whatever it is, but it's a feeling. And we have a phrase here at our hotel, Londonhouse. It's called eyes and teeth. And that's really hospitality in its simplest forms. If you can look at someone in the eyes and smile at them, I think that's something that, separates customer service, which is sometimes on the phone, sometimes someone that's not really liking their job, to hospitality, where you make a connection with someone. Because when you look someone in the eyes and smile, it's hard to be a jerk, or it's hard to to not make that connection. And that's something that stems down from our company higher ups, and it's just been something that we've ingrained in the culture. So I think that's the difference. Hospitality is how you make people feel and making connections, where customer service might be more of a process-based operation.
So, and I think, that it's a really good point that you bring up, because a lot of places you can go somewhere and receive customer service, you get your questions answered, you leave with what you came there to get or do, your service has been provided. But do you think that other businesses can utilize hospitality, and how do you kind of see that playing out?
I mean, absolutely. I think if they're not, they're falling behind, because the way the world is going, people want to do business where they feel welcome and where they feel that people care about them, because there's so many businesses that compete. I go to my local gym and they don't greet me, their heads are down, and I always think man, if I worked here, it'd be such a different, because in hotels, if you don't smile at someone, if you don't acknowledge them, the 5-10 rule, those old school stuff, you're failing. And if you apply those things to other businesses that traditionally don't have that, you're just going to set yourself apart. So I think if businesses aren't incorporating hospitality into the way they operate, I think they're falling behind and eventually are going to get passed up by someone that is.
Well, do you think there's any reason why companies maybe haven't done that? Do you think that companies can survive if they continue to stay with this old school practice of just giving people the service and that's it, or hiring people who don't want to be there? Where do you see businesses surviving in that
they'll
sense?
survive, but not thrive. I think they'll be around, but they won't be the industry leaders in whatever industry they are. And why they don't do it, there could be a lot of reasons. Sometimes, they're like, we don't have the money to invest in training. That's something you hear a lot. Or we've always done it this way and we've been okay. So I think
it's a dangerous phrase.
It is, right? Yeah, we've always done it that way, right? So I think it's really going to take young adults and what people call millennials, it's a different culture, and people see the negative stigmas with it, but there's a lot of good things that come with it. When you talk about the older generations or the generations that are not necessarily millennials, you work hard, you put your head down and you do it, where the younger generation wants to evolve and do things, they want to work smarter and not always harder. Sometimes they'll work harder, but sure, that's a stigma that I fight regularly, or try to, and I think that's how we're going to see not only our industry, but every industry evolve, where you're seeing this culture change of people's attitudes of not necessarily a process-based system and more about a hospitality-based system.
So we kind of mentioned, millennials and, younger people kind of making a name for themselves and transforming the industry. How old are you? Let me just ask you that, because you obviously look very young.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm that comes up often, to be honest with you. I'm 31 years old.
31 years old.
Yeah.
You were recently awarded a spot on Hotel Management Magazine's 30 Under 30, Promising Young Professionals. You're 31 years old, and you are the general manager of a 452-room luxury lifestyle hotel in downtown Chicago. How did you do that?
Well, the 30 and 30, I just made the cut. It was right before my 30th birthday, so it throws people off in that sense. But to be perfectly honest with you, I got in hospitality at about 11 years ago, at 20 years old. And probably my third day on the job, I said I'm going to be a general manager. And everything that I've done after that has been to get me closer to that next step. I listen a lot to social media influencers, public speakers. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk. And he has, if you're familiar with Gary.
He's one of the main reasons why we're doing
Okay,
what
yeah,
we're
so I'm a
doing.
big Gary Vaynerchuk, and he lives by this philosophy. And I have a big poster in my office. It's called Clouds and Dirt, right? So you have to find out what your clouds was. So that third day on the job, I said, my cloud is to be a general manager. That's what's going to be my cloud. So I had to figure out what my dirt was. And the dirt was what I was going to do every single day, in and out, to get me to my cloud. And sometimes people have that as a misconception and say, well, I'm going to be a general manager. But, you know, your dirt has to be what your current position is. So when I was a GSA, I had to be the best GSA, you know, that there was.
Sure.
I had to give the best service. I had to do the checklist right every time, make sure my manager was happy with that. I had to do the night audit right. And then when I became a supervisor, I had to deal with guest issues before my manager did. And then, when, you know, so on and so forth. So I always made sure that I was doing the dirty work or doing the dirt before getting to that cloud. And a lot of it has to do with timing. You know, you're at a place, they bring a manager, that manager doesn't work out. They bring another manager, that doesn't work out. And eventually they're like, well, here, you take the job. And that happens as well, but it's what you do with it and what you run with it. And I've worked, you know, no doubt about it, I've worked very hard to get to where I'm at.
Sure.
But there's been some timing involved with it. And, you know, I've always made decisions that were going to help me get to my clouds or get me to that next level. Whether it was what property am I going to next, what company am I going to work for. I was very strategic in all those decisions, you know, where sometimes people get impatient and they're like, I'm not moving fast enough, I'm going to go here. And that's a challenge I have here. You know, I have a front desk agent start, and they're like, I want to be a GM because you're a GM, you know? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but, you know, you don't remember 10 years ago, or you didn't see 10 years ago when I was in your position doing the checklist, making sure I had inbound rooms, making sure I did all that stuff, you know, to get me to that next level. So it was through a lot of hard work and through a lot of dedication, and always keeping that end goal in mind. It was pretty much how I got here.
Well, and I mean, for someone being the head of a hotel, you're the highest up on property, and you've worked pretty much the line level positions all the way up. And I feel like not many industries kind of have that where the person at the top has done all the work on the bottom. How do you think that impacts you as a leader?
I think it gives you a perspective that you appreciate, you know, the little things. You appreciate, you know, the houseman that comes in. You appreciate the room attendant. You appreciate everyone in their role because you were there once, you know. And when I look at people that I work with or that I hire, it's always, you know, what's their background? Are they familiar with it? Because I think, you know, my director of rooms has a phrase called, we're in the role of serving those who serve others, right? So our job is to serve our employees, which are serving our guests, and that's the service profit chain. That's how I like to operate, and I think that's how you become successful. Is when you serve the people that you're serving, it's because you've been there, you've seen it, you've experienced it, and then you can relate to them and be empathetic, and then they can offer that service to your guests.
So it sounds to me like your leadership style is hospitality values going into, I mean, it's a service-oriented leadership, which is great.
It has to be. I mean, I think it's all about, you know, the golden rule and treat others how you'd want to be treated. You know, I've been in roles where, you know, my executives, my leaders, my bosses knew they were in that role and had forgotten maybe about what they were in previous roles, and, you know, didn't make eye contact with people, didn't shake people's hands when they walked in the building, you know, didn't go to front desk meetings or acknowledges or stand-ups and stuff like that. And that's an area where I want to get away from and say, hey, you know, I was there with you once, and I was there once, and I'm here to help you get to that next level.
So have you always been this way in your leadership style, or like, just tell me how your leadership has evolved over time and over each promotion, each position, and kind of how you've come to, like, I mean, you're still young, and I'm sure you're still developing your leadership style, but I'm sure there was probably some rocky starts, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's Even in my early stages when I was a front office manager, I had a guest complain, and he said something like, you're just a kid, you can't help me or something like that. And I took it
Ouch.
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took it personal, and I fired right back. And I was like, listen, this is what's going to happen. And that didn't go well because he asked for my bosses and so on and so forth. But no, the way my leadership style has changed, to be honest with you, when I started, it was all about trying to do everything myself and trying to get all the credit and trying to make sure my bosses knew what I was doing, And I remember I was director of rooms at my previous property, and they told us the SVP was coming in, make sure. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to stand at the front desk and make sure he sees me checking people in. He's going to like this. So sure enough, I'm at the desk around his check-in time, and I'm checking people in, kicking butt, and doing all the steps. And after the line went away, he calls me over. He's like, can I have a conversation with you? I was like, sure. And then we talk, and he's like, how much am I paying you? And I was like, what? And he's like, how much do I pay you? And I told him, and he's like, how much do I pay a guest service agent? And I was like, this. He's like, do you want to be a guest service agent again? And he's like,
Okay. So
yeah.
it kind of backfired a little bit.
It did. It backfired completely. He's like, you're here to think big picture. You're here to lead that team. I know you're great. I know you can check people in. I know you can answer the phones properly. But you're not going to be a successful leader if you can't train the people to do that while you're not around. And that was just mind-blowing, I was like, crap, you're right. So right then in that moment, my leadership changed there because I wanted to be the one that was getting recognized. And now it's, a big win for me is if a front desk agent gets mentioned on TripAdvisor, or if I get an email from a guest saying how great the bellman treated them or the room was spotless. I mean, those are bigger wins now, My philosophy changed from doing everything to surrounding myself with what I call high performers and cultural ambassadors. That's something that I strongly believe in, and I live by that. And strong performer, be the best at what you do, no matter what it is, right? Not everyone wants to be the GM. Not everyone wants to be the president of the companies. I have a doorman that has been a doorman for the last 30 years, goes on vacations, great vacations every year, has put his kids through college, and he's the best doorman I've ever had. So that's his clouds,
Yeah.
And then cultural ambassador, do you believe the company mission statement? Eyes and teeth. Do you believe the values? We have our mission statement here, and if those two things are very high, then you're going to be very successful. So that's kind of how it's evolved and changed throughout my career.
Sure, definitely. And now that you're, in a position where you probably built this entire team yourself.
No, you know what?
I mean,
It's gone through some changes. Yeah, definitely. I actually, right before this interview, I pulled up the opening list of managers that we had, and we were about 1/3 left out of the original 40. There's 1/3 left.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
When you open a hotel, especially one like Londonhouse, we had some managers that used the opportunity as maybe a stepping stone or
that,
ladder.
like, pre-opening team.
Correct,
and
yeah.
then kind of just moved on to the next opportunity.
Yeah, like our opening director of sales is now a corporate director of sales for Marcus Hotels. Our director of food and beverage that opened it, he's now vice president of food and beverage with another company out in California. So some of them, did that. And then there's a lot of changes when opening a hotel. You go to a hotel that's been open 10, 15, 20 years, processes are in place, checklists are there. When you're opening a hotel, everyone has their own idea from their own property, and you have to figure out what works best for this property. And some people don't want to stick that out, and sometimes they decide to leave or decide that it's not the best option for them.
So you think that, behind the glamour, so to speak, of that pre-opening manager, there's kind of, some people, maybe they're a great department head at an already established property, but there are some learning curves and challenges that can arise when opening a hotel?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the day before opening, our quality assurance inspector came to us at 8 p.m. and said, this hotel's not ready to open unless you do X, Y, and Z. So
did you say that was the day before?
The day before.
The
day before opening.
You
yeah.
must have been like, what?
Yeah, and so we're like, we all freaked out. We met in the cafeteria, and we're like, how are we going to open this hotel? And we stayed till about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, putting light bulbs in, making sure room directories were all in every room, and then we had pizza in the cafeteria at 4 a.m. We went to bed and woke up at 7 a.m. the next day to open this place up. So.
And you know what? I'm sure you'll probably never forget that.
Oh, absolutely not. Those are some, you take those with you for the rest of your life and the rest of your career. But some managers weren't, they're like, I don't want to be a part of this, and decide to leave, or they didn't like the changes. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people left, but I think the team we've built now is as strong as it's ever been, and I'm excited for the future.
So what do you look for not only in when you're hiring your managers, I'm sure that's mostly what you do now as opposed to line level staff. But I mean, tell me some like traits that people have that make them apt to excel in hospitality.
Okay. Well, those are two loaded questions. I like them, Kyle. But the first one, so how do I go about hiring people, right? When I sit in an interview, and I did this in my pre-opening team because I hired quite a few of the management team, is the 4-hour flight test. That's kind of what I call it. Can I sit with you on a 4-hour flight and not want to shoot my brains out or run the other direction?
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Because we're going to be in meetings. I'm here at work, 10, 11, 12 hours a day, so I'm going to be here more than I'm at home. So if I can have a person that I get along with and have great conversation with and don't want to run away from, then you've passed that test, right? And the second thing I look for is I know what I'm good at. I know what I bring to the table. So I look for people that fill the areas I'm not good at, because I know I can, get up in front of a crowd and just give a speech or a stand-up meeting or something like that. I've gotten better at public speaking over the years. And I can work long hours and all that, but in areas that I'm weaker at, I look for team members. Like I don't have a lot of food and beverage background.
Sure.
So when we were looking for a director of food and beverage, we really sourced it out and looked it up and went through a lot of candidates to see which one was the best one. And I'm glad to say the one we have right now is phenomenal. So that's an area I wasn't so strong in. So when I interview people, I don't look for people that are like me. I do look for people that I get along with, but not that are like me, but that can fill the weaknesses where I'm not as strong as I would like to be. 1, I learn from them. 2, that area gets covered. And 3, it's going to make the place more successful.
That actually sounds like a pretty good deal at the end of the day.
It works out well. Yeah. What do you look for in a leader, if you don't mind me asking, for when you're looking for a position, or what do you like?
Well, I haven't had much experience in hiring managers, but if I'm, kind of what I think a, candidate comes in, and I just think that they have to be social and they have to be nice.
I like that.
Simply and they just have to want to be there. I think at the end of the day, if you don't want to be at work, people will, not only will that affect your team that you're dealing with, your coworkers, that'll bring them down, but also the guests or the customers can definitely sense that. And, I think it kind of starts at the line level. Like, that's the impression. The managers can be passionate all they want, but if the people at the front don't exuberate that, it's not gonna work out.
Absolutely. I mean, there's days that, unfortunately, there's days I don't see a guest, and it's what those line level team members are doing every day, and it's ultimately a representation of what their leaders have done and what their managers have shown them, and are they happy where they work, So I agree with you 100% on that. Yeah.
So, because obviously now that since that fateful day where they told you not to check people in at the front desk, you're probably not interacting with guests as much as you have in the past, or maybe would even like to. But what do you do as a general manager to ensure that the standards that you want for service are being maintained, and that the expectations that you have are going to be upheld even when you're not around?
Well, I think you said the key word is the expectation. I think a lot of leaders don't set expectations. Like we have 5 defined goals that we meet first. I put together 5 goals and I meet with the executive committee, and we come up with 5 goals that the entire hotel is going to be aware of. And then we have an all managers meeting, and then we have an all employee meeting. So we communicate these 5 goals to every single person on the property. So you set the expectation, right? Everything you do needs to lead to one of these 5 goals. If it's guest service, then that leads to our TripAdvisor goal. If it's you're a server on the rooftop, that leads to our revenue goal. So everyone needs to focus on these 5 goals. So as a leader, you need to set the expectation, and that makes it easier for when I'm not around. I can count on people doing that. But you also walk the property, from time to time. You sneak up, you come in your jeans and t-shirt on a Saturday, just see what's going on. But it's more just so people can see that, that you're going to hold them accountable, because accountability is a big part of it. But, you have to surround yourself with players, good players that are going to, relay your message to the team and never get complacent. There's times where things are going well and the leader sits back and it's like, my job's done, where I think leaders and GMs and department heads, your job is not right now. Right now is the line level staff. They're the ones worrying about right now. I have to worry about the next 6 months, about the next 12 months, because today's gone. If the agent didn't take care of the guest, that's done. But I have to think 6, 8, 10, 12 months ahead, so that my leaders can look 3, 6, 8 months ahead, and just keep moving forward that way. Because if I get complacent now, then eventually one day you'll drop 3 spots, 10 spots on TripAdvisor, and it'll feel like the end of the world.
So you kind of, because I'm kind of getting like a full circle kind of feeling here about when you originally said your cloud and your dirt. Am I kind of understanding that right?
Absolutely.
With the same thing with the
Yeah.
goals for your associates
Absolutely.
and your managers?
Yeah.
And how often do you have these meetings? Or is this just like a once every now
No,
and again?
with the managers, the goal ones we do twice a year. So
Okay.
we do one in the beginning of the year that says these are our goals, and then we do a wrap up at the end of the year to say how did we do, right? But we also have quarterly manager meetings. I have I call it GM luncheon. So every month I sit with 15 employees. We do a catered lunch with our catering team. It's a really nice setup, tablecloth service, and I meet with 15 to 18 employees, and it's just really a sit down, tell me what's going on, and they're randomly chosen. It's no managers, it's just me and line level employees, and we talk about what are you doing to help our goals succeed, what can I do to help you get to those goals, do you have the tools? So with different employees and different levels of management, there's different frequency on these meetings. But yeah, you said it, it's all about clouds and dirt. So our clouds are these 5 goals, and then the dirt is what are we doing every day to make sure that we're knocking off one of those goals off of our checklist. Yeah, so yes, you're right, it's all encompassing.
Yeah, no, I mean and I like this idea of sitting down with your associates, not in like a you win this if you get mentioned on TripAdvisor so many times. You're going to give everybody a chance to, because I mean, I'm sure from being a department head, even now, you've been in departments where you might think this is the littlest thing. Why does someone even care about this? That's somebody's world that they go in every day and they do that. The housekeeper. I remember I had one of my room attendants when I was a housekeeping supervisor. Her spray bottles, she had her own that she bought, she wanted, and when she was on her off days, if someone touched those, that was the end of the world for her. And maybe that's not a big deal to you or me, but to them, that's a huge deal. And I think that telling them that, please tell me what you think, and I'm going to help you the best I can. I'm sure a lot of leaders could learn from that.
It's a pretty cool experience, and how I've done that before with the other GMs that did that with me, and I thought it was always cool. But here we do for the front office, if they do a certain upsell number, I do lunch with them, right? So if you hit the
is that on an individual basis or on a team basis?
So that's an individual. So if every agent that achieves $10,000 in upsells for the month will go to lunch, wherever they want. And I was doing this regularly, and my management team's like, hey, it's cool that you do it with the front office. But what about the room attendant,
Sure.
or what about the steward or the room service attendant? They would like to have lunch with you. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't think much of it. And then I remember one lunch with the front desk. We went, and the front desk agent's like, hey, can we get a picture? And I was like, okay, I didn't think much of it. And we took a picture, and then they put it on Facebook, and then I got to have lunch. So I was like, oh, like you said, it
actually, because you're just like, oh, I'm just I'm just waking up, going to work, it's my job, but people look up to you.
Yeah, no, it was cool. And then even my friends are like, dude, we have lunch with you all the time. It's not a big deal. Like, why is it such a big deal that they're having? I was like, oh, well, the role and stuff. So they kind of jabbed at me a little bit, like, we get beers all the time, and it's not a big deal. Why are they posting on Facebook? So that's when it really opened up my eyes. That let me open it to more associates. Let me open it to every department and just try to get some feedback, because that's the people that are going to give you the real truth. Your managers are going to sometimes try to cover up so they don't look like they're not doing it, but the hourly employees are going to tell you how it is. They're going to be like, oh, okay, you want to fix it? Here you go. Here are the issues.
And I'm sure there are some people who don't hold back with you at all on that.
I thought the first one we did in January was going to be more timid. It's the first one of the year, and nope. they were open, they unloaded, and then we resolved some things. Sometimes they say things that are, they want another elevator installed. That's probably not in the short term,
And,
but
that's something that it's like, well, we've just built this.
Yeah, exactly. We just opened this new hotel a year and a half ago. But, other things, can we add a sign here? Can we, change this key packet or something? And stuff like that. Then we're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Can we add a phone line here so the person doesn't have to run down and tell them, and they could just call them? Like, yeah, that makes sense. So some really good ideas come out of that. And like you said, I really encourage other leaders to just talk to your line level staff and get into a setting where they're comfortable to tell you what's really going on.
Absolutely. Do you guys have any last questions you want to? What's up?
Is there, in terms of passion for work, Is this something that when you're hiring somebody, they have to have it, or is it something you can instill in your employees?
I think passion, that's a tough one. You know, I saw that one of the questions was, you know, do people just have that hospitality? I think you look for people that feel good when they make someone else's day. You know, like, I think that's something big in hospitality, because too often people are driven by themselves and they just want to succeed, but they pass everyone along the way and they step on everyone along the way. But someone that genuinely cares about other people, that's who I think is going to be successful in hospitality. So in an interview, that's tough to see. So I always ask the question, like, tell me about a time that you helped someone achieve one of their goals. And then that kind of repositions. It's not what did you do to get to your goal. It's not what did you do to be successful.
That's a great question.
It's what did you do to help someone else achieve their goal. So that's kind of how I try to spin that.
I'm sure you'll get some crickets for the first 30 seconds after you ask that question from time to time.
You know what happens? Because when you go in an interview, you're so psyched about what you're going to say about you.
Oh, yeah, you hype yourself
Yeah,
up.
you hype yourself up. You're like, this is what I'm going to say. And then when they ask you, what did you do for someone else? You're like, oh, let me go back. Let me dig deep. And a lot of times, most of the time, people have something, you know, because good people or people that you work in hospitality or that are going to be successful in hospitality want to see others succeed as well, you know, because it doesn't have an impact on how you perform. And our industry is very small, and sometimes I hear people, you know, judge me because they don't feel I deserve to be where I'm at. And it's, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I worry about what I'm doing every day to make sure that I'm successful and that my team is successful. Do the same, and you're going to have a great career and a great life, you know? Well,
and what's your response to that? Because I'm sure, is it your age necessarily that you think? Because, I mean, we can't overlook that. As much as I'm sure you don't want that to be, you know, a focus for, you know, for your success, but it is. Even for you to be 40, 45 years old to be the GM here, that would be a huge success in and of itself. Does that ever become a hurdle for you, or does that ever become, you know, maybe with colleagues that are older than you who aren't, where you're kind of above them? Do they ever, does that become a challenge?
You know what? I think it's more the outsiders looking in that give me a chance, like, you know, present the problem, because the team here, I've been here since pre-opening. You know, I was here going on 3 years now at Londonhouse, but they've seen the work that I've done every day. So when I got the role, it was a really, in my opinion, and the feedback I've gotten, it was like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, it wasn't like, whoa, what happened? Where the outside world was probably like, what's going on? How'd this happen? You know, who's there? But I when I first got the position, I let it affect me a little bit, because I heard some rumblings of people that either wanted the role or applied for the role, and I felt like I have to prove them wrong. And then at the end of the day, it's, you know, I was like, is our hotel successful? Are my employees happy? Are our managers happy? If they are, that's all I'm worried about, you know, and the outside world can think what they can. And that's one of the reasons I really was excited about doing this, because, you know, it really gives me the opportunity to get my thoughts out there and then, you know, show some people that, hey, maybe this guy's not as arrogant or as conceited or whatever they may think as I thought he was. Because, you know, I've worked very hard to get to where I'm at, and just because I did it at a younger age doesn't mean that I'm any less qualified than someone that's been doing it longer.
Sure. I mean, I think we can all say that you're a very down-to-earth person just from our conversation and everything today, and just choosing to spend the time with us. Is there any final words that you'd like to say? Anything that you want to get off your chest before we end the interview?
You know, just the one thing I do want to tell people, and I tell my associates, you know, I've been very successful in the career that I've had for a multitude of different reasons. You know, everyone has their own time and things happen for a reason. So, you know, for those younger professionals out there, don't compare your career to where mine is. You know, that happens a lot with our associates where they come in, like I mentioned earlier in the interview. But, you know, think about it. I've been doing this for almost 12 years now, which it's longer than some. And I've had my ups and my downs and my in-betweens. And focus on yourself. Do everything that you can to be the best at what you're doing right now. Be a high-performer culture ambassador. And the titles, the salary, the positions, that'll come. As long as you're working hard every single day at what you're doing, everything else will come with it. So don't rush. Don't feel that you're not advancing fast enough, because it's a small industry, and, you know, one wrong move can really set you back, but one right move can really propel you and shoot you up.
Okay, well, perfect. Juan Leyva, everybody.
Oh,
Thanks
pleasure.
for being with us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Greg and Kyle here from Hospitality MD. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, smash that subscribe button, like, and share it.
In the comments down below, tell us about a time you helped somebody achieve their goals.
Thanks again for watching.
We'll see you next time.